I want to say that I feel that we are given so many titles in life. And when we're given so many titles, I find it important to define your own title. The first title I ever received was orphan. I was born in Saigon, Vietnam in 1973. I was found in a pile of trash by a nurse at a nearby orphanage. I was later adopted by a wonderful family, and I came to the United States in 1974. I grew up, I graduated from high school, later I graduated from college. In fact, it was this college right here. I'm the class of 1995. At the time, it was Bridgewater State College, not a university. But after graduating from college, one of the things I wanted to do was become a successful businesswoman. So I began my climb up the corporate ladder. It was so important for me to achieve my professional goal. In climbing this corporate ladder, after a few years, I got one of my first real titles, which was marketing manager. I was a marketing manager for a property management company. This came to an abrupt stop because I was introduced to a life-altering title, mother. It came with no directions. It came with no training, but it was a lifelong commitment, and I had no room for failure. I was now responsible for another human being. So I pondered this, but being the determined young woman I was, I knew I could conquer it all. I was going to have my corporate dream come true, and I was going to become the mother I always wanted to be, because that was most important to me also. But after struggling for months trying to do both, I basically caved in. I couldn't do it anymore because my job and motherhood both required 100% of me. It was an incredible stress, and I really had to choose between becoming the mother that I always wanted to be or working myself up the corporate ladder to get that title. So I had moved to Virginia to pursue this corporate career, and I moved back home to Massachusetts. I traded that title of marketing manager into the title of administrative assistant 1. I put myself back at the bottom of the corporate ladder. I was on rung 1. Being on rung 1 all over again, it was a big hit to me, but at the same time, I didn't see it as a demotion. I knew I made the right choice. And I set a new professional goal for myself. I told myself, in this position, I was going to rise, and one day I would support either a president or a chair of a board of trustees. So I pursued this career, and after a few years, I gained another title, wife. I took this title very seriously, and my life was fulfilled. I had all the titles I wanted. I was married, I was a mother, I added another daughter to our family, and I had a career. And I had still kept in mind my professional goal, and that was to become an executive assistant. So when that opportunity knocked, I jumped at it. But the problem with that, I jumped at the title. I wanted to be an executive assistant so badly that I didn't research the job. I didn't research who I would be working for. I failed to research the company itself. So I got to a point after struggling in this role with the title that I wanted, that I pursued, I finally caved because I was miserable. And in these few years, my marriage was also crumbling, and my happiness was being sacrificed. So I knew I had to choose between all of these titles that I really wanted and my happiness. So I separated from my husband. I resigned from my job. I even turned in the keys to my apartment. There was only one title that remained, and that title was mother. That is the only title that meant anything to me. That is the only title that I had to succeed at, because there were two people dependent on me succeeding. So I was no longer a wife, no longer an executive assistant, and I no longer had an address. And even though I turned in all these titles, I realized that did not stop people from labeling me. Because I was just a few months out from being separated from my husband, but people had no problem saying, you know what, you're divorced. Just say you're divorced. Although for 15 months, I did everything to find a job and become employed to support my family, people had no problem saying I was lazy. Must be nice taking all this time off. I wish I had all this time off. And I started falling in line with these people, and I began to label myself. Because although my gracious best friend had allowed me a roof over my family's head, I labeled myself as a failure. Because I kept one title, which was mother, and I was failing my children. I couldn't provide for them. But even in the low of my life, when my life was on pause, when it had come to a stop, there was a deep-seated dream within me. And that dream was to be a writer. Not to write one book, but to write books. That is what I wanted to be when I grew up. But what I find is when you allow other people to define who you are, you don't chase your dreams as passionately. But when you pursue your dreams in silence, there's nobody there to discourage you. It's just you and the finish line. So here I was at this point in my life where I was separated, I was employed, I was homeless, but I began to write my book. I moved back to Massachusetts, I finished my book, and I published it. I chose to define who I was going to be, and I chased it. And if anybody in here has a dream, and you have a title for yourself of somebody who you want to be, define what your title is. Define who you want to be. And then I need you to name it. I need you to claim it. I need you to pursue it. And I need you to achieve it. Because you can. Because although my initial title when I came on this earth was orphan, I stand before you today with the title of the daughter of God Almighty. That is who I am. I am the mother of two beautiful, exceptional young women. I am also a writer. I am the author of the book, Going Through It. And I said at the beginning when I turned in my title of marketing manager, and changed career paths, I wanted to be an executive assistant to either a president or to a board of trustees. Today I stand here with the title of executive assistant to the president and to the board of trustees of Cape Cod Community College. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it greatly.